Hey guys, Swafes here and welcome to another episode of Hearthstone's Mean Streets of Gadgetzan card review. Today we're talking about a lot of new cards that were released and let's just get right to it. Alright, let's go. First one is a warrior card. It's called Grime Street Pawnbroker. It's a free mana free and battle cry, give a random weapon in your hand +1/+1. And usually for weapons, +1/+1 really means a lot of damage, right? So it's really good as an effect. However, it's still playing on the notion of future value, right? As with the previous episode. If you haven't seen it, please click the link somewhere here. And yeah, with future value, we're talking about things that will happen later on. You're sacrificing tempo right now in order to get something better in the future, right? So basically what I see this card doing is that it works best with weapons like Gorehowl or Fool's Bane, which makes it really strong, especially if you have the Violet Illusionist on the board, and you just chop like nobody's business. It's really good. So it can become current value at turn 5 at minimum by getting a Fiery War X that is a 4/3. That's really insane. A 2 mana 4/3 Fiery War X, sign me up for that. And it happens at turn 5, and the other weapon that was really good that was rotated out, it was a 4 damage weapon. It's called Death's Bite, right? It was so good at clearing boards. So if you have a 5 mana 4/3 plus a 3/3 on the board, this is really good. So you kind of want to compare this card with, say, Ravaging Ghoul. I mean, Ravaging Ghoul does something first, and it might be able to clear a whole board of 1/1s, for example. Kind of does something on the board immediately. But for Grime Street Pawnbroker, it's really something that will happen later on, right? Or maybe wait until turn 5, then it's useful. It's kind of the same for Ravaging Ghoul, where you've turn 5, you just Ravaging Ghoul and you can execute something like that. So it really depends on what kind of deck you're playing. I think as a control warrior, you might want to play 1 Grime Street Pawnbroker, not 2, because one of the main things is that you really require a weapon in your hand, right? So how many weapons are you going to run exactly? You're going to run, say, 2 weapons as a control warrior, which is Fiery War X, and possibly a third one, which is a Gorehowl, right? And sometimes you might even run Fool's Bane into Violet Illusionist, and that's good. You have quite a few weapons, and with Grime Street Pawnbroker, you might be able to even get more value out of this than, say, a Ravaging Ghoul execute. So it's a good card. Let's see how it works. Next we have Shaky Zip Gunner. It's a hunter card, 3 mana free again, but it's a Death Rattle card. So Death Rattle, give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. Remember, this is a Death Rattle card, which means that you cannot ever exploit it as current value. The previous cards for future value have always been things that are battle cries, and battle cries are or spells, right, are things that you can exploit as a current value. However, because it's a Death Rattle, it's no longer a current value, it's strictly future value, and it's not good enough. You want to see the other free drops that hunters have. They have Infested Wolf, which is also a 3 mana free that has a Death Rattle, summon 2 1/1s, or Animal Companion, which any of the minions that spawns evenly has a better value than Shaky Zip Gunner. Alright, so even though this gives a random minion instead of a random beast, I really don't see Shaky Zip Gunner being played in hunters, because hunters, like I said previously, are a tempo based class, and if you give up your tempo for a future value, you might not be able to do as well, because first and foremost, Shaky Zip Gunner is not a sticky minion. Infested Wolf is, and Infested Wolf has Beast Synergy, Shaky Zip Gunner is just a random minion. So yeah, and even then, even if you trigger the Death Rattle, you might not be able to hit the buff on the right card in your hand. Unless of course your card is like empty, then well, as in really small, then well, you probably will be able to hit something you want. But most of the time, no, I don't see it being played. Bad card, 6 out of 10. We'll see how it goes. So if you look at Trop Beast Rager, which I have already talked about previously, this is a battle cry. It can be exploited as a card value, but you require beasts in your hand, which is more likely than not the case as a hunter. So a 4/4 Infested Wolf would be good. But if you had this in your hand and you played this, then well, too bad for you, you will get the buff. So I'm not sure if hunters should play these two cards. I don't think they are good. Next, hunter card again, it's a 4 mana 2/4 future value. So basically battle cry, deal damage equal to this minion's attack. It's a very good arena card where because sometimes you can play things like deal 2 damage battle cry, right? Like Rifleman or something. So Dispatch Kodo might be good in arena, but I really don't see it being played in hunters. Like I said before, hunters are very tempo based, right? So if you think about it, even if Dispatch Kodo is buffed to say a free 5, it's pretty much dealing free damage, which is something what like Fire Elementals or the Blackwing Corruptor can do, right? So it's not that good. Maybe the stat line is fine. However, even if you're really unlucky, right, and for example your Shaky Zip Gunner doesn't hit your Dispatch Kodo, what are you gonna do, right? It still requires a lot of luck to pull off a good battle cry, and I don't think that this is what you should rely on as a hunter. There's literally minimal randomness in hunter, right? The only randomness that you usually get as hunter is the fact that you have animal companion, which you are rolling a dice for a good beast that comes out. But for the other hunter cards, usually you don't have random effects, which is good. So hunters are usually reliable, and the randomness of future value cards is not desirable. Next, it's a 4 mana 6 free neutral card. It's good in arena, but it's a 4 out of 10. Nothing much to be said. It's a Worgen. So you have a 1 mana Worgen with stealth, you have a 2 mana Worgen with stealth, but if you give me a 4 mana Worgen and suddenly it doesn't have stealth. Okay, whatever, I don't like this card. It has 3 health, easy to kill off, easy to frostbolt, Forgotten Torch, all those kind of things. Next, Pirate Gun. 3 mana 4/3 taunt. It's a reverse fierce monkey, but we all know how good taunts are when your health value is high, not your damage values, right? If high damage values were valued, then people would have played Booty Bay Bodyguard instead of the Senjin Shield Master, right? But people like more health as a taunt. So Pirate Gun, it's a good stat line, it's a unique stat line, but I don't see it being played. I'd still rather play Fierce Monkey. Fierce Monkey has 1 more health. Next, it's a Bluegill Sniper. 2 mana 2/1 Murloc that deals 1 damage. Failfish. I'd rather play Elven Archer. It's a dead card. Don't play Bluegill Sniper, it's a terrible card. Next, Backroom Bouncer. 4 mana 4/4. Whenever a friendly minion dies, gain a +1 attack. So why the heck would you ever play this card? If you're gonna sacrifice your own minions into the opponent trade upwards, then I'd rather you play Cult Master, right? You draw cards, and drawing more cards and gaining tempo in that manner is so much better than say getting 1 attack each time your minion dies. It's a terrible way of getting minions. However, Zoo may want to still play this, I'm not very sure. You can Forbidden Ritual into Sea Giant and then Backroom Bouncer, and then you slowly trade all your tentacles upwards, and then you have a really big Backroom Bouncer as well as a Sea Giant. And then you find that your Backroom Bouncer only has 4 health and gets shadow bolted into oblivion. So I mean, if you say, Okay, if you said Backroom Bouncer gains +1 health for each minion dead, then this would be a good card. But because it +1 attack, it's no longer a good card. I'd rather you play Cultmaster because health is irrelevant for that, and Cultmaster gains you more tempo than say a Backroom Bouncer can do. Next, Dirty Rat. A lot of people have been talking about this card and saying that it's amazing. It's a 2 mana 2/6 with Taunt. Battle Cry, your opponent summons a random minion for your hand. So for example, if your opponent has a Golden Monkey or Kazakus, and suddenly you play Dirty Rat and their Kazakus plays on the board, or the Golden Monkey plays on the board, the Battle Cry effect is gone, right? However, you really don't want to play this card. I mean, come on, what happens if the opponent throws out a Ragnaros at turn 2? Or if your opponent throws out a Ysera at turn 2, or a Malygos at turn 2? What are you gonna do? A 2/6 taunt is not gonna save you from that. And it's not good playing it against Zoo because Dirty Rat's still gonna get rushed down. I mean, sure, a few minutes is gonna die. However, it's also not good to play against Control, right? Especially against Control. Sure, if you pull out the Golden Monkey, he's left with dead cards, right? But what are the odds of that happening? And Control warriors also play Ragnaroses and even Gromesh Hellscream, right? What are you gonna do then? Are you gonna be able to clear the board after you play Dirty Rat? I mean, if you're gonna play Dirty Rat at turn 10, sure, but if you're gonna play Dirty Rat at turn 2, you're taking a really big risk. So I don't see the Dirty Rat being played. It's a tech card, it's really cute, but why do you want to put tech cards in your deck? Unless you're playing in tournaments, right? But even in tournaments, sometimes people don't feel like the risk is worth the reward. So yeah, like I put here, risk is greater than the reward, and therefore it has a score of 3 out of 10. I was tempted to even rate it lower, but 3 out of 10, I think it's fair. Next, it's the warrior card, Grimy Gadgeteer. It's a minion, and it's 4 mana for free. At the end of the turn, give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. This is a very okay future value minion, because first and foremost, it's not Battle Cry. Battle Cry give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. If Grimy Gadgeteer survives, every turn that you end, your hand has a +2/+2 effect, which is insane considering warriors can now play a lot of taunts to protect this guy. So even though it's a random minion, I think it's good. However, if you compare the stat line with Cochrane Elite, which is charge, Cochrane Elite might be better, might be worse. If you're playing Control Warrior, I suggest you play Grimy Gadgeteer. It's a good future value card, especially if you have taunt minions out there to protect this guy, and your head will keep growing and growing and growing. And it combos with the next card that I'm gonna talk about, Bluegill Gangster. It's a 5 mana 2/2 Battle Cry. Summon 2 copies of this minion, and this is insane value. Welcome back, Grim patrons, but not really. Am I right? Because if you have future value cards hit your Doppelgangster, you might have, say, okay, if it procs like one time, it becomes like a 4/4. So 3 4/4s on the board for 5 mana. Sign me up. If it procs twice, then it'll be what, 6/6. So 3 6/6s on the board. Sign me up. It's really good in Control Warrior, but I don't really see it playable in Paladins as well as Hunters, simply because Paladins would rather play low cost minions that swarm the board early and destroy the opponents fast. Since Paladins have the future value to all minions, so you really just want to swarm the board like nobody's business. In Hunters, they really rather play the current existing Hunter archetype and not bother with the future value cards. So Warriors, they have another alternative available to them. Future value cards are good cards for them. Warriors are going to love Doppelgangster. Next, we have Smuggler's Run, and it's a paladin 1 mana spell. Give all your minions in your hand +1/+1. So welcome back Competitive Spirit number 2. So you can have Competitive Spirit 1 and Competitive Spirit 2 right here. Future value can be played as current value simply because of how cheap this spell is. This spell is a 1 mana spell, and you can, after you play Smuggler's Run, you can play your Grime Street Outfitter, then you play your Grime Street Enforcer if you're really greedy, and then you swarm the board. It's insane value. But then again, like I said before, Grime Street Enforcer is a little bit too costly. I wouldn't advise playing that card. So Smuggler's Run, Grime Street Outfitter, play a Competitive Spirit, and you play your whole bunch of Argent Squires and even Abusive Sergeants, and it's insane value. I like this card. And even you can even play things like Dragon's Egg or Runic Egg, and it will be good too, right? So all of these sticky minions on the board, play it, and you really like this card. Smuggler's Run, good card. And like I said, Divine Shield minions get the most value, so you might even be able to play things like your Silent Knight or your Argent Commander. All of these cards get so much value out of Smuggler's Run, and your opponents can't really clear the board because 1, your minions would be really high health, or 2, they have divine shields to deal with whatever they want to throw out at your minions. So yeah, they can't clear the board, and it's a good card. Next, we have these paladin cards, 7 mana 6/6. Grime Street Protector. It's the new Doctor 7 because it has taunt, and in Battle Cry give adjacent minions divine shield. So this is the first time an adjacent effect gives divine shield, right? So basically, in order to get full value of this, you need minions to be on the board, preferably 2. If you have 1, I'd say you still have a little bit of value, but you really want it to be 2, and it's really strong. It's really like a Dr. Boom. What made Dr. Boom so strong was that it was not the 7/7 body, right? It was the boom bots that could trade upwards into the enemy minions or the face. Same goes for this one. If you give your adjacent minions Divine Shield, then your Divine Shield minions can trade without dying, and it's really good. It's a tempo play that makes your opponents feel like grabbing out all of their hair, right? So Divine Shield, I really like this. After today, I think there will be a lot of Blood Knights out there. I mean, after the expansion is out, Blood Knights will be so popular because Divine Shields are just way too annoying to deal with all their future value cards and current value cards. So yeah, I give Grime Street Protector an 8 out of 10. It's a good card. Next, we have the Warrior Weapon. It's a 4 mana 2 free Thorium Knuckles. After your hero attacks, give a random minion in your hand +1/+1. So basically, it gives your random minions in your hand +3/+3 in a sense, unless of course people throw in the Acidic Ooze or Harrison Jones, right? But the weapon itself is just too weak. And as for a future value card, like I said, you're sacrificing so much tempo on the board. I don't see this being played at all. I would much rather you play your, what's that called, the grimy Gadgeteer, right? I really wouldn't like you to play Thorium Knuckles unless you really want to play something like a Reno deck. Then perhaps you might want to slip in a Thorium Knuckles. It's not even good in Arena because it's a 2/3. Sure, your minions get buffed, but by +1/+1 or +3/+3 might not be as good as you think it is. So if you want to compare it with, say, Rallying Blade, it's pretty much the same thing, right? Usually you only have, say, 1 Divine Shield on the board, and when you play Rallying Blade, it +1/+1, and it can be used if there are a whole bunch of Divine Shields on the board and you just Rallying Blade and you get so much value out of it. For Thorium Knuckles, it's really dependent on what happens as well. I don't think it's a good card. +3/+3, you're paying a little too much tempo for this. I don't think it's good. So yeah, that's all of the cards for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys agreed or disagreed, please leave a comment down below so that we can discuss it. Leave a like as well and subscribe to my channel for more card reviews in the future. I'll see you guys next time. Love you guys. Bye bye.